Let's kick off again our usual podcast and kind of video where I was trying to push the message sharing is caring. The reason is I always wanted this channel to be a free resource. You see my infrastructure course for free. You see a lot of video that I'm doing. It's a strange moment of a market. We get a lot to learn, and that's one of the reasons why you need to be silent sometimes because you need to learn and keep doing. It's passion, and so it's not heavy to do it, but there is a lot to study. I want to come back to what is a format that goes from beginner to more advanced. And today I want to talk about something that is important about AI. Everybody put all this pressure around just one word, but within the word there is a lot of differences. And when you talk about securities, security of pipelines, security of the platform, security of LLM, you need to distinguish. So this video is something that I haven't seen around. If somebody did it, fair play to them. But I will walk you through each step. When cloud started to get popular, a lot of IT person were kind of scared of what it was happening. This situation with AI isn't any different. There is a lot of fear. There is a lot of trying to learn whatever you find. There is a lot of rushing for a certification. But the hacking concept of everything is trying to understand what is under the bonnet. So let's avoid that mechanism that I saw when Kubernetes was starting. Who knew something was trying to keep it. And there was a lot of big words, big marketing, big things to go, and only few really understanding the differences and nuances. So I want to give credit to this guy, but I don't know, Rakesh Goel. Here you find at the bottom of the header his newsletter. He made me thinking this graph because it's nice because it's really representing what is going on in the market. Everybody talk about cloud. Now, cloud announced a SaaS parsing solution, but it's not even open and is in waiting list. I don't know who is so connected to get access and write a lot of article about because almost all communities should be in my same situation where we can't get access to that. So cloud is a good example because is one of the vendor that is having some nuances different than OpenAI and other player like Grok. They all follow this kind of model where you have the first column, Cloud AI, is the classical prompt LLM. You ask things, it does give you answer, hallucinate a bit sometimes, and you are happy. Cloud Code is more related to having a mignon for you that is coding, bad habits sometimes, or good productive vibe coding. It's up to you to decide, but it's what it is, the tool. OpenAI does have the same, it's having codecs, and everybody is going down that path in somehow. But is having cloud something specific about cloud co-work that is more a desktop, is entire OS, and there is a lot into that. What I see is a lot of confused people just referring to cloud as AI and not being specific. We saw and we witnessed that horrible situation with Open Cloud and all agentic. Everybody now talk about agentic, but don't distinguish what an agentic is actually. So in this talk, I will go through this one starting from a beginning for a beginner to understand the differences. Is not all cloud just one product, is a targeted program product. And there are many more. As I said, the cloud just announced the one for security that is a SaaS parsing by AI the pipeline. didn't get access, didn't test it. Fair play to everybody that is so well connected to have tested that. But in any case, you need to distinguish what is about. Mostly, it will get an integration into one of these three. So you'll get the integration through the cloud AI, the code, or the co-work. Now, the security of each is changing, but what I see is a lot of pushing on talking about the LLM security itself. And you know my passion for security architecture. Just the LLM itself is having an entire pipeline, and security should be across an end-to-end solution. So what is worrisome is there is no talking about architecture, how is designed, what is under the bonnet. They are all black box kind of assumption, and everybody just focus on the LLM, so the typical prompt, prompt injection, and other common attack bypass of AI security control. But I want to tell you that right now we are moving to sort of agentic deployed. As you see, Vision is the last announce of cloud, where it's talking about the remote control of the devices. Now, Vision will means that from the mobile, you can instruct your agent, and we are talking about the cloud co-work to do things for you, similar to what uh, the, the, that things called mm, the design of agent should never been so free to access to your resources data without any control, just be published like we saw in open cloud. Obviously, the commercial implementation of this one is a bit more reasoned and is a connectivity between their app stack to their app stack. So it's not supposed to be public remote exposure, but it's still one of the earliest implementation of a real agentic solution, where from the mobile you push instruction to that. As you see, you have the cloud app for iOS and Android, and you can have your session. Now, if we look into that, now is cloud code. I need to correct myself, not cloud desktop, but it will be in the cloud co-work probably soon. Now, these announcements are always having some nuances on which new feature they are having and what you are allowed as licensing to access to. But mostly they work in a similar manner to an API integration. So they just have a lot of token going all around. This week we witnessed all mass of Google token and that use the same Google Maps token for Gemini. We do know that OpenAI is a bit behind on this kind of conversation, but soon they will come as well and will propose something. Now, when you talk about security, your flow is actually to go to Mitre Atlas, to the OWASP top 10 for LLM and generative AI. But if you really analyze all these paper, you understand how the attack are always the same and really LLM centric. Now, prompt injection is nothing different than any web application, with a caveat that behind you have a more complicated way of retrieving the information. But most of a user of AI don't have an understanding on what is the LLM, how does it work with a RAG. So let's, for a beginner, discuss this kind of difference because it's a nuance that change a lot. Now you get the typical cloud, like cloud AI. You ask your question, the model is having generic training, it give you back some answer. OpenAI got the problem that it was hallucinating a lot. So what they did, if a model doesn't have the answer, is surfing the web in a sandbox to try to find the information that you're looking for, trying to hallucinate less. This one is just a shortcut, a sort of sneaky way. There is no real data set behind it, just a discovery of what to find in the same way you do with a Google search. There is a more advanced way where you have a specialized vector database, that is a type of database that does have and index with some embedding all this information in the right place, and your LLM query first the data store and later come back with a reply from the data store and analyze how to reply to you. This one is the simplest. It's not the best technical explanation that you can get on internet, but at least give you an idea. So you query just the LLM, or the model is trained for that, or browse the internet most of the time, like it happen every day with ChatGPT and the others, or need solid information. The solid information and the fact that you point to a database avoid that hallucination step, because instead when hallucinate, need and is forced to go and ask a database what is the answer. These kind of vectors are for sure an enhancement of the way how is retrieving the information, what is the quality of the information. But now we always in security use Maltigo and other Neo4j kind of database where you have pattern that get created between data. That is what GraphRAG is introducing, more a Neo4j kind of relationship. Here I'm stepping more in the technical, and probably the beginning is suffering a bit more, but it's a long conversation. So the GraphRAG is actually linking two different information that don't have a common identifier to be linked, like you do in a union in a database, but he is going to create a relationship between the data. That graphical relationship that you always see with all these graphs like that, like we see in Maltigo and other, allow to correlate information that are of different nature. This one is more sophisticated and for sure is more similar to the way how we reason everything, because we we don't just query something that is simple. Sometimes is complex, and the relationship are quite thin. Now there is a third version that is the hybrid graph RAG. That it means that is capable the LLM, that is the brain, query both system at the same time, get the answer from both, and pack together with his own knowledge a rational, resonate a proper answer to your question. This one is a way more sophisticated way to go, and is where the market is going. We started with ChatGPT, later arrived this version of custom ChatGPT that was a first attempt of having a RAG where it was indexing actually the document that you're uploading. Google did something similar with all Vertex umbrella of agent, where there is the file search API. So you go in on Google, you have this big query that is actually their database, and there is a file search function API on top that it can create your vector database. Now, I don't want to go on the difference, the embedding, and all complex topics about, but it's important that you understand that just getting one package, one product doesn't tell you what is using behind. And the most sophisticated way of getting something is an hybrid graph RAG. This one is today, February 2026, is this one of the situation. Later we will see. So we move from fake indexing of data that wanted to be similar to a RAG to a proper RAG, and later we move to pattern, more sophisticated with graph, and later both at the same time. I hope this one is useful at least to understand. Now, the agents. As I said, the agent is actually later on a minion doing your job or doing something, and is having a dedicated function. I did a lot. I dedicated a bit of effort on this stuff. You find on my slide share some researches that I did, for example, on the protocol side of the agentic. I like to look in deep on how all pipeline works, and protocols obviously are designed to talk and connect all these agentic. So to explain it a bit better, you could have to perform an operation like reserving a ticket and call the agentic that does the ticketing, check if there is availability or whatever, later need to, to move to another agentic that does something else like the payment, and you have a payment. On this paper, I review the agentic e-commerce protocol that it was sponsored by Stripe. Read my research because it's interesting how many problem I spotted. Nobody replied, but anyway, is there. And the same in the agentic AI protocols. I do have an entire collection here the CDN at a moment. So in the slide share, you'll find Vision Fastly is now having some connectivity issue, but you'll find the problem with protocols. So to summarize, agent can do auto discover. So auto discover is a bit tricky because you are actually merging a pipeline, and so asking to perform action to something that it could be potentially malicious. I can be an attacker, create an agentic that is malicious, get your stuff, and get the data from you. I perform something dodgy, and I come back to you, and we all look like friends with each other. This auto discovery is part of a protocol, but what is shocking is that mutual TLS or authentication of this agent is not there. Now, I want to highlight how we had in security similar architecture problem where we had, for example, IoT. IoT was a situation where you had a lot of satellite all around, small devices, their own operating system, and as a concept, we had it also with a API, web app API. What security always did, create a gate, a gateway structure where actually you could enforce DLP, MDM, you could inspect through breaking the SSL, you could decide who could join and who can't join. So now with agentic, from a security architecture perspective, we don't have that. That is a big miss. I always question that we have the technology and we do have the full implementation. For example, Kong. Kong does introduce right now AI gateway and can do it quite well. is missing the action when an IoT gateway does have, for example, to kick out an agent that can be scripted. You can use conconnect to actually do that. But we see that the market is reacting in completely different manner. On somehow we have all of these pile of RFC that even the comments don't get commented, or everybody shout that is perfect. And we do have a other situation where the delivery of the action is more important. Now, let's talk about payment because it's really important. A payment agent need to perform action that we at the moment that you are in the PCI space means like it is a terminal. Now there is no regulation that extend to this automation agent layer the POS, the terminal certification and the standard. That is spooky. That's the reason why I would like to have more and more focus on the overall pipeline end to end and not just the LLM. That is a fantastic piece of work. It's fantastic reference for everybody in the market, but is missing the end to end and where is actually weak everything. Because architecture is the key. And it's not just because I dedicated an entire life to that, but it's actually see the big picture of what is going on, and it's what is missed. So to recap, think about the difference of each, what it does mean. Think about the token. Token will be the most exploited part. Now, I tell you something that is written in plain English in every documentation. But if you take product and you try to create your own pipeline, you end up with product like Arbite, an A10, Windmill, but each is having something different. I like that Windmill, for example, is having the secret token included from the beginning. But NA10 doesn't have it if you are not in an enterprise kind of license. That's a big issue. All this stuff should have rotation of the tokens and be 100% sure that if one is compromised, it doesn't allow to move laterally. If you add on top the agent problem that I described with the protocols that don't recognize who is joining to what, you'll see which kind of effect can have. Now, Gemini using the Google Maps token that are public and easy to be discovered is another problem. You see how the token role in an overall model is changing. Use a token, you need to know for what it is. You should rotate it. You should always use a vault. Now, at the time that you have cloud code that is pumping into your pipeline, that is a token that is permanent, is not rotating, and it's another problem. You are enlarging the supply chain attack. So as you see, focus on which type you are working with and what it means for you. There are a lot of conversation and a few researchers that I follow are doing an excellent job of analyzing the sandbox of each. And it's fantastic how the discovery on how they manage the tokens. So it's fascinating world. There is a lot to study about. Don't give up. Keep going, but don't get all these waffling marketing. Try to understand what you are discussing about. It's not that you mention the vendor and automatically you know what you are discussing. Agent will will be a potential extension of endpoint. So I have a vision where I expect the OS to have to interact with all these agents. It's mandatory. There is no other way how they will do And the having proprietary agent protocol, it will means that they will be integrated into the kernel of the OS directly. It would make sense. I didn't see announcement at kernel code development or talking about it, but it could be that need to interact at lower level with the kernel, and you'll have some funny attack surface, some new attack surface on that space. For example, VDR got kicked out from the kernel space, so it will be at user space. How does C things are all question mark. I'm expecting these changes to be really sudden. So keep an eye also on the extension or on how everybody is integrating. Uh, Kali got an integration with cloud and got announced a couple of days ago. It's huge because you know what it can mean. So if tomorrow you hook up some Kali boxes somewhere, because obviously, as far as I know, there is no private link where you can actually connect to something. So also from a connectivity perspective, is forcing to the front door in the public space all this connectivity. It's not something that is small. I don't understand a lot of posts that I'm reading in terms that technically are not correct or are really just for the sake of posting. And some are AI generated too. Some are more personal branding, some are more company branding, but is self-defense means that you keep insisting on a hacking attitude where you understand what's under the hood. And I want to position myself to be enough having a decent understanding of all these ecosystem on how all pieces are connecting to have a security architecture view, also from a risk lateral move perspective. It's really difficult to do a threat model right now in a black box where you don't know and you can't see where this token get published, how in the internal system they work. So started easy, beginner. I finish a bit more higher level, more technical. I hope I did you enjoy the content. Stay tuned on this channel. Don't get misled that you start to see stuff on my company and thinking that the channel is becoming just an advertisement, because it's not. I spent ages to give content for free. I'm keeping studying and trying to avoid to just jump on a bandwagon, just talking about whatever everybody else does talk about. Stay tuned and stay strong. Okay? Cheers. Bye bye.